Did you know that signs of dementia can begin showing up as early as a year before an official diagnosis is made? It's something many people aren't aware of. What's most surprising isn't the memory loss that comes later, but the small, quiet shifts that happen much earlier. Changes so subtle they often go unnoticed. They can easily be mistaken for regular aging, but in fact, these early signs have meaning. Spotting them sooner rather than later can change the way we plan and care for ourselves or our loved ones. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 signs that may appear long before dementia is diagnosed. They're not obvious or dramatic, but they do matter. From slight behavioral changes to decisions that seem out of character, these signals are often the mind's way of quietly asking for help. And when we catch them early, we have a much better chance of responding with clarity and peace of mind. This video is not here to scare you. It's here to support and guide, so you can look after your well-being and be there for someone close to you who might be going through the same. Stick around until the end, because you'll not only understand these early indicators more clearly, you'll also leave with helpful steps that can encourage a longer, safer and more independent life. If you're joining us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Here on Elderly Longevity, we're here to keep you informed, confident, and supported, one video at a time. Let's begin. Sign number 1. Memory slips during everyday routines. One of the first early signs, and often missed, is forgetting small things during daily tasks. These are gentle disruptions in your usual rhythm. Things that used to be second nature suddenly require more effort or seem to slip your mind. It's not about forgetting who your family is or large memory gaps. Those tend to appear in later stages. What we often see first are tiny mix-ups during the day. Examples might include walking into a room and forgetting what you came in for, constantly misplacing your glasses even though you have a usual spot for them, or missing an appointment you were sure you noted down. On their own, these things might seem like nothing. Everyone forgets now and then, right? But if it keeps happening, and if it starts to interfere with your normal flow of life, that's a signal worth paying attention to. Sometimes the person feels quietly upset, as if they know something's off but can't quite explain it. They might brush it off as tiredness or being distracted, or try to hide it out of embarrassment. But here's something key. It's not just the forgetfulness itself, it's that the person doesn't realize they're forgetting. For instance, they may repeat the same story multiple times in a day without any awareness that they've already shared it. Or they might forget something serious, like turning off the stove, not because they were in a rush, but because the thought just vanished halfway through. When memory lapses begin to affect practical areas of life, like remembering to take medication, paying bills, or managing routines, it may be time to seek support or guidance. Take the case of Mr. Osvaldo, 74 years old. His daughter started to notice a pattern. He would ask the same question about her job in every call. At first, she thought it was just his way of showing interest, but later it became clear he didn't remember their previous conversations. He also forgot to renew his driver's license, something he had always done on time for decades. None of these moments seemed dramatic on their own, but taken together they began to paint a clearer picture. These early signs can begin months, or even a year, before dementia becomes more obvious. And because they're so quiet and gradual, they're easy to dismiss, but if we notice them with care, they can serve as gentle early alerts, and the sooner we recognize them, the sooner we can take action, whether that means consulting a doctor, keeping track of the changes, or adjusting routines to help the older adults stay safe and independent. Sign number 2, changes in mood and personality. When people think of dementia, memory loss is usually the first thing that comes to mind. But what many don't realize is that, even before memory problems appear, there can be noticeable changes in mood and personality, and this is the second early warning sign. These aren't just day-to-day mood swings or reactions to a stressful situation. They're subtle shifts that don't match the person's usual way of being, and quite often they show up without any clear reason. One of the most common signs is increased irritability. Someone who was always calm and patient may begin to act more short-tempered, get upset over small inconveniences, or react strongly when routines are disrupted. It's not that life has become more difficult. What's changed is the person's ability to cope with it. Sometimes, the shift shows up as anxiety or withdrawal. For example, a woman who used to enjoy going to church or book club starts avoiding those places. She may say she's tired, or that she prefers to stay home, but deep down, it could be that she feels overwhelmed by conversations, busy environments, or even just getting there. Others may start to show a quiet sadness. It's not necessarily depression, but a kind of emotional flatness or disinterest, as if their energy is slowly fading. They stop enjoying hobbies, don't reach out to friends as often, and seem less motivated in general. These emotional changes are especially important to notice when there's no clear cause, like a recent loss or medical issue. Family members often say, "She just doesn't seem like herself anymore." A son might notice his mother doesn't laugh like she used to, or a friend might feel the conversations have become colder, more distant. And those small emotional differences, they matter more than we think. Another sign may be how the person responds to new information. Take Mr. Walter, for example, 76 years old, always curious and open-minded. But his daughter began to see a shift. He had become suspicious, unwilling to accept new ideas. He questioned simple explanations like updates to his health insurance and rejected suggestions with unusual firmness. It wasn't just bad mood, it was a change in how he saw the world. These types of mood and personality changes can be clues that the brain is struggling to manage emotions and behavior. They often show up months before more obvious memory issues begin and serve as early quiet signals that something isn't right. So if someone close to you begins acting differently, more distant, emotionally flat, or unusually reactive, it's time to take notice. Yes, changes in mood can have many causes, like certain medications or temporary sadness. But when the change is new, persistent and not typical of that person's usual behavior, it's worth investigating further. The sooner these shifts are recognized, the sooner we can act, whether that means seeing a doctor, making small adjustments to daily life, or simply being more present and supportive. And if you're still with us so far and finding this helpful, type the number 2 in the comments below. That way I'll know you're following along and learning with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the perfect time to do so and turn on the notification bell. Your support helps us keep sharing content that informs and inspires. Let's keep going. Number 3. Struggling to follow conversations. The third early sign that may show up as much as a year before a dementia diagnosis is difficulty keeping up with conversations. Many people assume this is just due to poor hearing or lack of attention. But in reality, it can signal that the brain is beginning to struggle with processing information, especially when it comes quickly or in busy, noisy environments. Now, we're not talking about forgetting a word now and then or losing your train of thought. That happens to everyone. What we mean here is a more consistent pattern. The person often asks others to repeat themselves, not because they didn't hear, but because they couldn't follow the flow of ideas. Sometimes they even respond in ways that don't quite fit the conversation, even though they were trying to pay attention. Imagine a family lunch full of chatter and laughter. Mr. Harold, 82, had always been the life of the party. But in recent gatherings, his daughter noticed he was barely speaking. He just smiled and nodded quietly without joining in. Later, she asked him about the conversation, and he admitted he hadn't really understood what was going on. That's when she realized it wasn't disinterest. It was that he couldn't keep up with the quick back and forth of the conversation. When several people are talking at once, or when topics shift quickly, or even when there's background noise, it can become overwhelming. Naturally, the person may start to pull away. Someone who used to love chatting may avoid group discussions, not because they don't care, but because they're afraid of saying something off topic or simply can't follow along. Another common difficulty is finding the right words. The person knows exactly what they want to say, but the words just don't come. They may use vague phrases, like that thing or stop mid-sentence, unsure how to finish the thought, and this can happen with very familiar everyday words. The hardest part? They're aware it's happening. And that awareness can lead to frustration, embarrassment, and even fear of speaking in public or around people they don't know well. Over time, these communication challenges can shake someone's confidence. They begin speaking less, withdrawing more, and unfortunately that can lead to emotional isolation. And emotional isolation doesn't just hurt, it can actually speed up cognitive decline. After all, staying socially engaged is one of the most powerful ways to keep the brain active. So if you notice that someone close to you has started going quiet in group conversations, seems to lose track mid-dialogue, or struggles to follow even simple topics, don't ignore it. It may not be a loud alarm bell, but it could be the brain's quiet way of asking for help. Let's look after the people we love with patience and care. And if you've found this information helpful so far, type the number 3 in the comments. That's how we know you're learning with us. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Here on Elderly Longevity, we're here to walk with you towards a healthier, more independent life, one video at a time. Sign number 4. Losing interest in favorite activities. One of the earliest signs that something may be changing in the brain, even before memory loss becomes noticeable, is a slow loss of interest in things the person once loved. This change often happens so gradually that even close family members might not notice it at first. It's not like the person suddenly decides to stop everything. It's more like a quiet drift, a gentle fading away from the things that used to bring joy and meaning. Take Mr. Walter, for example. He was 78 and had always loved tending his garden. He proudly grew tomatoes, carefully prepared the soil, and spent hours outside. But one spring, his daughter noticed the garden was empty. When she asked, he simply said, "Oh, didn't get around to it this year." The following season, nothing changed. The tools stayed untouched in the shed. Where once there was life and attention, now there were only weeds. This kind of withdrawal isn't about laziness, fatigue, or bad moods. In many cases, it's the brain, slowly losing its natural drive for pleasure, purpose, and reward. And the tricky part, the person doesn't always seem sad. They might still be polite, smiling, going through the motions, but that inner spark that once lit them up starts to fade. You may notice they no longer make plans, seem uninterested in social events, or avoid activities they used to enjoy. Sometimes even self-care starts to slip. Clothes worn without care, a messy house, unopened mail piling up. They haven't stopped doing these things because they're physically unable, but because the motivation just isn't there anymore. Even watching TV or reading can become too much. They might sit in front of the screen, but not really follow the story. Books stay half-finished, magazines stack up, and when you ask what they've been up to, the answer is vague. "Oh, just resting. Nothing much." This emotional quietness is often mistaken for normal aging, but there's a difference. Aging slows the body. This kind of detachment is the fading of emotional connection, and sometimes it's a form of self-protection. When someone starts noticing their memory slipping or feels left out in conversations, they may avoid situations that make them feel exposed or embarrassed. It's not disinterest, it's fear of not being able to keep up. That's why what they need most is kindness, not pressure. Just being present, listening without judgment, can make a big difference. A gentle talk at the right time may open the door to understanding what's going on and getting the right support. If this message resonates with you, type the number 4 in the comments. That tells me you're still with us on this journey. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to hit that button and turn on notifications. Here on Elderly Longevity, you'll always find guidance and support to help you or your loved ones live longer, safer, and more meaningful lives. Let's move forward with health, dignity, and connection at every step. Sign number 5. Getting lost in familiar places. Imagine heading to a place you've known for years, but suddenly the streets look unfamiliar, as if your brain has misplaced the mental map it always relied on. This may seem like a minor slip, but it's actually one of the most serious and overlooked early signs of dementia. That's what happened to Mr. Francisco, aged 82. Every Sunday, he drove the same short route to his local church, just 10 minutes away. But one day, he missed a familiar turn and ended up circling the block, unsure of where he was. He arrived at church anxious and unsettled. A few weeks later, He called his daughter from less than a kilometer from home, completely disoriented and unable to find his way back. These moments aren't just memory lapses, they're episodes of disorientation that often become more frequent over time. And they don't just happen outside. Even in the comfort of home, a person might forget where basic items are kept or confuse one door for another. It's as if the brain no longer recognizes its own territory. Familiar places start to feel strange. This affects confidence deeply. Many people begin avoiding going out alone. Some even stop driving altogether, not because they can't, but because they're afraid of getting lost. This kind of spatial confusion is more than simple forgetfulness. It reveals that the brain is struggling to process space, directions, and the layout of surroundings. Things like going to the market, visiting a friend, or finding the restroom in a cafe can become overwhelming tasks, and often these signs go unnoticed by others. The person might cover it up, saying the traffic was bad, they took a different route, or they were just distracted. But beneath the surface, they're battling anxiety, worried about losing their way in once familiar places. So if you notice someone hesitating on well-known routes, depending more on others for navigation, or avoiding outings altogether, don't brush it off as just aging. It could be the brain signaling that it needs care. These changes deserve compassion, not judgment. And if this is happening to you, know this. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's a reason to seek support, to take steps towards staying safe and independent for as long as possible. Looking back on these 5 subtle signs that may appear up to a year before a dementia diagnosis, one thing becomes clear. Awareness is a powerful form of care. Unexplained mood changes, trouble following conversations, losing interest in favorite activities, struggling with everyday tasks, and getting lost in familiar places. They are the brain's quiet way of asking for help. Recognizing these signs early opens the door to conversation, to medical guidance, to lifestyle changes, and most importantly, to more quality time with the people we love. If you've seen one of these signs, in someone close to you, or even in yourself, don't panic. The strength lies in awareness, in reaching out, in walking this path with courage and care. And remember, you are not defined by your memory. You are defined by your story, your wisdom, and how you choose to live each day with purpose. If this video spoke to you, leave a comment below. Tell us which part stood out the most, or how you plan to apply this knowledge in your life. And if you haven't yet joined our community, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and share this video with someone you love. Together, we can bring more health, awareness, and dignity to those who need it most. See you in the next video. Stay well, and may vitality and peace follow you always.